Ladies and gentlemen, polish your monocles, lace up those high-button shoes, and prepare for a tale from a time when engines barked like brass dogs and roads were more suggestion than infrastructure. Today, we crack open the dusty pages of early American motoring and shine a lantern on a machine with spikes on its cylinders and a slogan so bold it could have come from a whiskey ad. Meet the 1906 Knox Model F-4 Tourist, the car that never drinks water. That is, whiskey? We make no promises. Before we unleash this porcupine on wheels, smash that subscribe button for more insane vehicles. You know you want to. Now back to the car. Tale begins in Springfield, Massachusetts, where a bright-eyed engineer named Harry Knox lived next door to none other than J. Frank Dorriere, one of the founding fathers of American motoring. Inspired, Knox took his bicycle-building talents to the Overman Wheel Company in Chicopee Falls, built 3 experimental cars, and promptly decided it was time to launch his own operation. In 1900, with financial help from businessman Elihu H. Cutler, he co-founded the Knox Automobile Company and began selling 3-wheeled runabouts that looked like baby carriages, but drove like very determined wheelbarrows. By 1902, Knox was making 4-wheeled vehicles, all powered by his own unique invention, the old Porcupine engine. This beast was air-cooled not by traditional fins, but by bristling with about 750 threaded pins screwed into the cylinder barrels. Why? Because radiators were for cowards, apparently. Harry Knox himself left the company in 1904 to start building cars under the Atlas brand, because Springfield needed more tiny auto empires per square mile, but his original firm pushed onward. By 1906, Knox was producing 5 different models, including the one we're spotlighting today, the F-4 Tourist. Designed as a nimble 4-passenger tourer with a shorter wheelbase than its F1 and F3 siblings, the F-4 was aimed at middle-class Americans who wanted a reliable machine that didn't leak, boil over, or explode while climbing a hill. It wasn't a mass-market machine like a Ford or a Rio. It was more of a boutique bruiser, priced at around $1,400 United States dollars in 1906. Adjusted for modern inflation, that's roughly $46,000 or 43,000 euros. Somewhere between starter car and midlife crisis, depending on your salary and how many horses you just sold. The F-4 was produced for only 2 years, 1906 to 1907, before being phased out in favor of Knox's bigger water-cooled 4- and 6-cylinder models. Across all variants, Knox made about 753 cars in 1906 and roughly 1,000 the following year. Only a handful of F-4s survive today, fewer than a dozen in fact, and most are tucked away in museums or private collections, occasionally wheeled out for brass-era rallies or concours events where gentlemen in leather helmets debate spark-advanced timing over cucumber sandwiches. Under the green paint and patent leather fenders lived a 2-cylinder old Porcupine of roughly 168 cubic inches, about 2.75 liters, rated 16 horsepower. The layout was delightfully simple and absurd. The engine sat low in the chassis with its crankshaft mounted transversely, meaning the cylinders pointed front to back. This design gave the car a lower center of gravity, which helped keep it from tipping over like a startled goat every time you took a corner. The transmission was a 2-speed planetary system, low and high, connected to a chain drive sending power to the rear wheels. No drive shaft, no gearbox ratios to grind, just good old-fashioned mechanical simplicity. The suspension used semi-elliptic leaf springs on both ends, bolted to solid axles front and rear. The frame was pressed steel and the brakes, rear wheel only, contracting bands operated by a hand lever. The result was less braking and more strongly suggesting that the car might stop. Many examples were later retrofitted with transmission brakes or even upgraded drums, but back in the day, you had to plan your halts a week in advance and pray for uphill terrain. Wheels were wood-spoked 34 inches, fitted with non-demountable clincher tires. Imagine trying to fix a flat with pliers, prayer, and a cigar. The F-4 measured about 95 inches long and 58 inches wide. That's 241 centimeters. By 147 centimeters and weighed in around 1,600 pounds, or 726 kilograms. Top speed was a breezy 35 miles per hour, about 56 kilometers per hour, which doesn't sound like much until you realize your only protection was a canvas top, gravity, and the vague hope that God liked you. The engine's position, low and central, combined with chain drive and the two-speed planetary setup, meant the car had decent torque and could climb hills better than many early rivals. Steering was via wheel, no tillers here, and the F-4 Tourist came with a folding windshield, optional top, and enough legroom to make a Victorian gentleman sigh in contentment. Visually, the Knox F-4 Tourist was no shrinking violet. With its high seating position, gently curved fenders, exposed brass lamps, and that signature upright stance, it looked like the kind of vehicle you'd take to court if it overcharged you. The touring body was crafted from hardwood with steel panel reinforcements sitting on a pressed steel chassis. Designers kept things open and breezy. No doors, no frills, just a folding canvas roof to shield passengers from the occasional thunderstorm or airborne goose. Knox prioritized function over flash. This was not a car for the nouveau rich flashing monocles on Fifth Avenue. It was a machine for doctors, traveling salesmen, and adventurous farmers. People who needed a vehicle that would start in winter, handle rough roads, and not burst into steam halfway up a hill. The Knox F-4's price of $1,400 United States dollars placed it comfortably in the middle of the brass-era spectrum, above your typical runabout, but well below the top-shelf luxury models. That cost included the air-cooled engine, sturdy chain drive, and all the brass fittings you could polish with a rag and a hangover. In today's money, that figure balloons to around $46,000 or 43,000 euros, a solid middle-class sum for a rugged, reliable machine with a face like a startled badger. And what about surviving examples? Well, the years have not been kind. Some have been restored with electric starters to spare modern backs the indignity of side cranking, and others proudly display their original leather and brass like they're about to join a steampunk parade. One beautifully restored 1906 example from the John Moore collection sold at R.M. Sotheby's for about $40,700 in 2017, a testament to its rarity and charm. Among the many fun anecdotes, one stands out. In the 1907 Glidden Reliability Tour, a grueling cross-country drive where cars dropped like flies, a Knox with the same two-cylinder drivetrain as the F4 finished without a single mechanical failure. For context, some cars on that tour burst into flames, while others just quietly fell apart somewhere in Pennsylvania. Knox's performance solidified its reputation as a car that could take a punch, a pothole, and probably a runaway cow. Let's not forget the legend of the old Porcupine nickname. Those 1,750 cooling rods looked so bizarre that journalists and owners alike started calling the car everything from metal hedgehog to mechanical cactus. Knox, ever the marketing genius, ran with it, emphasizing the no water needed advantage in every brochure. The car didn't drink, but the owners might have, especially after trying to start it on a cold morning with only 3 fingers and a prayer. And before I forget, smash that subscribe button like you're trying to crank start a stubborn porcupine. May your radiator stay dry, your wheels stay true, and your neighbors never mistake your exhaust pipe for a gopher hole again.